Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the heart of ancient Rome, exploring one of the most iconic structures ever built, the Colosseum. But we're not just talking about gladiators and epic battles. We're uncovering the truly bizarre, strange, and downright unbelievable stories that are etched into its ancient stones. So grab your popcorn, because history is about to get weird. First off, let's talk about the grand opening. When the Colosseum, or the Flavian Amphitheater as it was originally known, was completed in 80 AD, the Emperor Titus threw a party that lasted for 100 days straight. Think about that for a second. Over 3 months of nonstop games. But these weren't your average sporting events. It's estimated that over 9,000 wild animals were killed during these inaugural games alone. Lions, tigers, bears, crocodiles, ostriches, elephants, you name it, they probably fought it in the arena. It was a spectacle of slaughter on an unimaginable scale, designed to showcase the power and reach of the Roman Empire. Now, you've probably seen movies where the Colosseum floor is a simple, sand-covered oval. But the reality was far more complex and ingenious. Beneath the wooden floor lay the hypogeum, a 2-story labyrinth of tunnels, cages, and elevators. This was the backstage of the ancient world. Animals and gladiators could be lifted into the arena through dozens of trapdoors, appearing as if by magic to the roaring crowds. Imagine a tiger suddenly bursting from the ground in the middle of a fight. This element of surprise was a key part of the entertainment. It was a masterpiece of engineering designed purely for spectacle. But here's where it gets truly mind-boggling. The Colosseum could be flooded to stage mock naval battles. That's right, sea battles, inside an amphitheater in the middle of Rome. Historians are still debating exactly how they did it. But the most accepted theory is that a complex system of aqueducts and plumbing allowed them to flood the arena floor with millions of gallons of water in just a few hours. They would then bring in specially designed flat-bottomed ships and reenact famous naval victories, complete with soldiers, catapults, and all the chaos of a real battle at sea. The sheer audacity of flooding a stadium that size for a day's entertainment is just staggering. And who were the stars of the show? The gladiators, of course. But they weren't all just slaves forced to fight. Some were free men, even aristocrats, who volunteered for the fame and fortune. Think of them as the rock stars of their day. Successful gladiators could become incredibly wealthy and famous, with legions of fans. There were different classes of gladiators, each with specific armor and weapons, like the retiarius who fought with a net and trident, or the secutor with his heavy armor and sword. These matchups were carefully planned, like a modern-day combat sport, to create the most exciting fights possible. The animal hunts, or venations, were just as popular, but they weren't always straightforward fights. Romans got creative. They would sometimes tie a man to a stake and have a starving lion released, a gruesome form of public execution. Other times, they would create elaborate hunting scenes, importing entire forests worth of trees and scenery onto the arena floor to simulate a real hunt in the wild. They even staged bizarre animal-on-animal fights, pitting a bear against a rhinoceros or an elephant against a bull. It was a constant search for new and more shocking forms of entertainment. And what about the audience? The Colosseum could hold up to 80,000 spectators, all seated according to their social rank. The emperor and senators had the best seats, right near the action, while the poor and women were relegated to the very top tiers. Admission was often free, sponsored by the emperor or wealthy citizens as a way to gain public favor. It was the ultimate form of bread and circuses, keeping the population happy and distracted with free food and violent entertainment. They even had a massive retractable awning, called the velarium, to shield the audience from the hot Roman sun. It took a whole team of sailors to operate the complex system of ropes and pulleys. Now for a myth-busting moment. We often associate the Colosseum with Christians being thrown to the lions. While Christians were certainly persecuted by the Romans, there is very little concrete historical evidence to suggest that the Colosseum was a major site for these martyrdoms. Many of these stories came from later Christian writers, and while some executions likely did happen there, it wasn't the mass feeding frenzy that popular culture often depicts. The primary purpose of the Colosseum was always entertainment, not religious persecution. Over the centuries, as the Roman Empire declined, so did the Colosseum. The last gladiatorial fights took place in the 5th century and the last animal hunts in the 6th. After that, the magnificent structure fell into disuse and was repurposed in some very strange ways. It became a source of building materials for other projects in Rome, which is why parts of it are missing today. People literally quarried it for its stone and marble. In the medieval period, it was even fortified and used as a castle by a powerful Roman family. Small workshops and housing were built into its archways, turning it into a kind of self-contained, fortified village. There was even a religious order that lived within its walls for a time. Imagine that. This grand arena, once echoing with the roars of 80,000 people and the clash of swords, became a quarry, a fortress, and then a slum. It was until the Renaissance and later that people began to appreciate its historical value and started efforts to preserve it. It became a symbol of Rome's former glory, a romantic ruin that inspired artists and poets. Today, the Colosseum stands as a testament to both the brilliance and the brutality of the Roman world. It was a marvel of engineering, a center of social life, and a stage for some of the most violent and bizarre spectacles in human history. From naval battles on a man-made lake to surprise animal attacks from below the floor, the truth of the Colosseum is far stranger than any movie could portray. It reminds us that for all our modern technology and entertainment, the human desire for spectacle has been around for a very, very long time. Thanks so much for joining me on this trip back to ancient Rome. What part of the Colosseum's history do you find the most bizarre? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey into the weird side of history, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. See you next time.